Hey everybody, welcome to Jacob's Quest, and today I was able to finish watching episode 9 of season 2 of Marvel's What If. And this is What If Supreme Strange intervened. And I will say, for a finale, we're all kind of waiting on to see, like, okay, how does this all connect to each other? What's going to be, like, the big culmination of all these different multiverses that we've seen? I will say this one did not quite bring everything together as I would have hoped. We don't quite see the same version of Hela. We don't quite see the same version of a lot of different characters that we saw in this season. So, unlike season 1, we don't quite get the whole assembling of a team, really. It's mainly just Peggy Carter and Kahorti versus Doctor Strange, Strange Supreme, which I also gotta say it was kind of predictable where this was gonna go, right? Like, because let's face it, you look at Supreme Strange, we all saw his episode, and then the way that season 1 ended, where he was left in charge just looking after Infinity Ultron, and just like he just seems like a not okay guy. He's not all the way there. He's definitely not someone that you should trust to be in charge of anything, which is definitely kind of why I'm like, well, why'd the Watcher just let him be in charge of those two? And we all kind of thought that it was going to be kind of centric around Infinity Ultron and that whole situation. Like, maybe he's going to try to take all the power that he had, but really for Supreme Strange, it all just came down to wanting to bring back Christine again. Like, he's still on that. He learned nothing. That's the thing I think that gets me about this, is that basically what we're learning is that Supreme Strange learned absolutely nothing from his episode, from his epic failure in destroying his own universe. There were no lessons learned. He's still just like, I'm going to collect a whole bunch of heroes and villains from across the multiverse. So, in a fun way, we do get a whole lot of variants of different characters, just weird versions of everyone. The Hulk and Hela and Zombie Scarlet Witch comes back for a second. And basically, he's just feeding them into some kind of forge thing. And somehow, 1 plus 2 equals... the old universe comes back into existence. I don't quite understand what the logic of it is. They don't really explain it, but somehow this would result in his universe coming back. And yeah, basically just, Peggy Carter gets tricked into helping him, and then it turns out to be like, the person he was looking for was Kahorti, who we saw him talk to at the end of her episode. And so that really just seemed to be it. Like, that's the big driving plot. We don't get we don't get to see the rest of the multiversal Avengers come back together or anything like that. It's really just Peggy Carter and Kahorti versus Strange, and that's the episode. So I gotta say, it's a little underwhelming, especially because, like, yeah, it seems like the logical conclusion of, like, you can't trust this Strange. He's not okay. He's gonna do something, we know he's scheming something, right? So, I guess at the end, the Watcher just kind of says, like, oh yeah, I knew this was all gonna happen. I'm just the Watcher. That's why I just kind of let it happen. Because all we needed was Peggy Carter, And, I guess my thing is, I just wished it was something a little bit bigger than this, because... as cool as the fight was, and as cool as all the little cameos and variants of characters we know is, it definitely just didn't feel as stakes heavy. No matter how much, like, multiversal stuff, like, it's gonna destroy everything, it's still like you don't feel it because like the personal stakes aren't really there, I guess. So I don't know, basically, yeah, I guess Supreme Strange is gone. He managed to recreate his universe, but it has to be a version where he never existed. Okay, and as far as, like, the logic of Marvel multiverse, does any of this add up? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if any of this makes sense as to what we know of how things are supposed to work, timelines and multiverses. I don't know. I will say something kind of funny about this is, like, so at the very end, basically, the Watcher's like, yeah, I knew this was all gonna happen, and But hey, I'm finally gonna be able to bring you, Peggy Carter, back to your universe. Which, by the way, if he's willing to intervene at that point and like help her get back, he could have done that earlier. Then, like, she didn't need to be stuck in 1602 if he could have just done this, right? So, okay. Anyways, the Watcher just decides when to break his own rules, and then suddenly he's like, no, I'm back to not breaking my rules again. But maybe that's just the Watcher's shtick, that's just his thing. He's like, I follow the rules very strictly until I don't. But anyways, the kind of funny thing that happens at the very end is he's gonna take her back, and she's like, oh well, show me something cool. Let's take the scenic route. Surely there's something interesting out there. And for the first time in this entire series, they actually kind of mention, or not even mention, they show anything related to Loki and other multiversal stuff. We see the Loki tree. So Loki season 2 ends with Loki basically becoming the god of the multiverse, or the god of stories, or whatever you want to call him. He is holding the multiverse together, all these timeline branches. He's holding it all together into this giant green tree, and he's sitting on a throne in the middle of that tree. And up until now, the show did not mention this or say anything about it, and I was constantly having to question. I'm like, okay, the Watcher watches the multiverse. Loki is holding the multiverse together. Is he gonna bring up the fact that this is happening? Is this gonna come up at all? And I guess you could say it technically does, because it's like the last image is him and Peggy Carter. He's like, oh look, you don't even know what's out there. Check this out, and there's the giant tree, and that's it. Season's over. So in a kind of frustrating way, we don't get any real answers, and the bad guy was exactly what you thought was going to happen. Like, yeah, of course Supreme Strange goes crazy and is still after, gotta bring Christine back again. So I don't know. I will say I don't think that this season as a whole is as satisfying as season 1 was. I think if only because season 1 really felt like all the pieces of it came together very cohesively, or at least most of them did. Like, it actually felt like a whole team was built, whereas this season it's really just like 3 characters out of everyone, and 2 of them are from season 1. So really only the one new character actually mattered at all. So okay, but yeah, just I think we're still in that trend of like, Marvel, explain the multiverse. Just explain it, like, because this show has the Watcher using the multiverse in one way, and then Loki has the TVA and everything using the multiverse in a different way. And then we have stuff like, No Way Home and all kinds of different things where like the multiverse just, it's like they can't decide how it works, and then off on the fringes we have Into the Spider-Verse mentioning the events of No Way Home somehow. I don't know. I know Marvel already came out with a timeline book. I need them to come out with a multiverse book, or like an encyclopedia or something. Like tell us exactly who knows what, when is what happening. How long has Loki been in that damn tree? Does the Watcher clearly know something about Loki, right? Like, do they talk? Do they know each other? Like he must have, right? I mean, he's sitting there, and the Watcher's just sitting there watching. I don't know, guys. And I think that's where, if I'm getting this frustrated, and I'm someone who tries really hard to like pay attention and follow the logic of the franchise, I can only imagine that your casual audience member who might have watched Loki and then might have watched this show is like, huh? Like, explain what's happening. Because you have so many like multiversal ending events, and then like the TVA doesn't talk about any of it, so it's like, so how aware is the TVA of things? How aware is the Watcher of things? Does Loki know more than everyone? What about Kang and the Council of Kangs? Obviously we got Jonathan Major issues, so I don't know. I think this season of the animated series, it's fine, but it is all supposed to be canon to the actual universe, right? So like, if it's canon and Loki and TVA and Watcher and all this, if it's all happening, just explain it. I don't know why it feels like it's really difficult for them to explain very clearly what's happening and who is who in relation to what's the hierarchy of knowledge and power here. It's like they haven't decided, so they can't tell us. And look, I don't blame them. Obviously, the whole Kang thing, they're in the middle of trying to figure that out now because real world events happened. And okay, so I don't know, guys. I think I'm ending this one on like, visually it was cool, the action was neat, seeing all these variants is really, it's all very fan servicey. It's fine, it's cool, whatever. But ultimately, I am like, this could be more. This could be cooler. This could explain more. It could start, and like one of the most common complaints in Marvel right now, among all the Disney Plus shows and movies and everything, is like, it doesn't feel like we have the same level of connectivity that we used to. So when a show like this, all about the multiverse, does not address at all Loki and like very important things that we just saw happen until the very last second, they like show us the tree, and it's like, okay, so the fact that you showed us the tree almost makes it worse, because now I'm like, so explain it. Tell us what you know or what you don't know, or what. Oh man, I don't know. Anyways, let me know what you guys thought of What If Season 2. I thought it was fine, not as good as Season 1. Some episodes are standouts. The action overall is still pretty great. But I do think, like, we're reaching that point. The more we deal with multiverse stuff, it's like, either you don't know, or you're just choosing not to explain it. Which one is it? Because it's starting to feel like Marvel themselves doesn't understand how this all actually works. And so they're just like, we're just not really going to have any of it tie into each other because we don't really get it ourselves. So, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.